Okay, we're in volume 5 of the story, the Bible story, by Arthur S Maxwell. And this is what the front of my book looks like. Okay, we are at part 2, story 6, Greedy Gehazi. Now, if you've been keeping up, Gehazi is the servant of Elijah with the S. Okay, let me go ahead and read what we got. Naaman was so happy and thankful that he had been cured of his leprosy that he wanted to give Elisha all the gold, silver, and the beautiful garments that he had brought with him. But Elisha wanted no payment for something God had done. He hoped that this famous general would go back to the king of his country and tell how the God of Israel, unlike the gods of the heathen, is willing to help the needy of all nations, free of charge, without money and without price. As the Lord liveth, before whom I stand, he said to Naaman, I will receive none. Naaman urged him, but again he refused. Aglow with the memory of his wonderful generosity, Naaman started back to Damascus. No doubt he said to his servants, I never saw anything like this in all my life. Imagine any man refusing all the money I offer him. The God he served must be different from any that I've heard about. So the happy party moved northward, everyone eager to get home to tell all that had been, that all they have seen and heard in Israel. Then something made Naaman look back. A man was running after them. From a distance he looked like Gehazi, Elisha's servant. What could he want? Naaman reined his horses, and everybody else did the same. Gehazi came up panting. Naaman got out of his chariot to greet him. Is it all well? He asked, a little worried. Oh, yes, said Gehazi, carefully, while he made up the biggest lie of his life. All is well. My master has sent me, saying, Behold, there be come, even now there be come to me from Mount Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray thee, a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. The story sounded perfectly plausible, and Naaman was most happy to oblige. Take 2 talents, he said, and he urged him and bound 2 talents of silver. And he urged him and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of garments, and laid them upon his 2 servants, and they bared them before him. Naaman started up his horse again and departed, wondering whether Gehazi's story was true, or whether Elijah really wanted the money for himself after all. Meanwhile, Gehazi returned and hid his loot in a secret place. And then, of course, the picture of Gehazi getting the stuff. Okay, I'll turn the page. But if he thought he was going to keep anything like this a secret, he just didn't know his master. "Where have you been?" said Elisha as he entered the house again. "Nowhere, nowhere," exclaimed the prophet in great anger. "Went not mine heart with thee when the man turned again from his chariot to meet thee?" Gehazi looked at the floor, ashamed. He had he had been found out. His awful lies were known. But Elisha was not finished with him yet. It is time. It is a time to receive money, and a time to receive garment, and olive yards, and vineyards, and sheep, and oxen, and manservants, and maidservants, he said sternly. It was not, and Gehazi, the servant of God's prophet, should have known it. Then came his punishment. The leprosy, therefore, of Naaman shall cleave to thee, and unto thy seed forever. God's awful judgment on greedy Gehazi was immediately seen, and he went out of the presence of his presence a leper as white as snow. Was the punishment too great? Not for his sin, for by his greed, selfishness, and falsehood, Gehazi had spoiled something very beautiful God had tried to do for the whole kingdom of Syria and all the world beyond. So, and then it has a picture of the guy being turned white with leprosy. And there it is. Okay, and it's break time. So that was part 2, story 6, and it's break. And then we'll get back to reading our stories in just a bit. And it looks like this is a short one. See you in a bit.